Hello, Jimjamatic here. Welcome to a brand new episode of Robot Wars episode reviews. We're on Heat F of Series 5. Last time we had some shenanigans, mostly involving Napalm being shit and that infamous battle. This time we don't get anything as bad as that, but the Heat's okay. Joining me is, well, we saw him yesterday actually, it's DOMINATOR.
Hello again. At this rate, I'm going to appear in more videos than you do, James.
You just live in my house now at this point, I think.
I mean, there's live, kidnap, what's the difference?
No, the courts are very iffy on that one. It's fine.
It's fine, it's fine.
And also joining us is the first time he's appeared on my series. You might know him as FreyFox online. He does the transmission comic series online. Good friend of mine. It's Mark Smith.
Hello, thanks for having me, Jim.
It's nice to have you on. It's been a while since we first interacted versus now, but it's good to finally have you on my series. So
I just want to say, I was looking at the Skype chat and I was like, okay, who's joining us for this? FreyFox. And there was like a second, my brain was like, oh god, yeah, the transmission series. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And Russell and Reggie, of course, were the characters in the comic, and Russell's wife Linda, and together they competed with a robot called Polaris in a fictional series of Robot Wars, which they ultimately got to the 10-way Rumble to be controversially beaten by Nuts2. And I've since got an Antweight version of Polaris, which I've competed with in the Antweight World Series, and I designed it, I sourced most of the components, and Harry Tugwell from Team Panoramic assembled the robot and did the 3D printing, so a bit of a shout out to him as well for helping make the Polaris become a reality.
And you also had Proxima Centauri and Fighting Fox as well, were the other two that you
I did, yes. Proxima Centauri was my own design as well, and apart from the 3D printing, I assembled all that myself, and Fighting Fox was a ready-to-run robot I bought from Harry that I customised to be Fox-like. And he actually won a few battles, so that's nice.
Yeah, actually, considering it was your first event, you actually got a few wins as well, which was nice.
It's always nice. The pressure was off once I got that first victory, so...
Yeah, definitely.
I think I'll stick with my comics for a while longer before I think about building my next plan, which is a drum spinner, but, well, I'll leave it there.
Actually, speaking of spinners, there's actually a spinner from Scotland in this episode. It's one of the...
Yes, there is, and, well, you never would have guessed they were Scottish, would you?
Nah, no, the kilt doesn't give it away. Nah, of course not.
Nah. I mean, sure the kilts. I thought they were called skirts.
Well, I mean, it's actually kind of... I think until Series 3 version of All Talk, there hasn't really been like a successful Scottish robot. Hippopotamus, of course.
Typhoon didn't really come along till a bit later in terms of a heavyweight success, did it?
You mean you had Hippopotamus, bought out of hell?
We had, this was before Robin Herrick moved up to Caithness as well, so we can't really count Cold Fusion Team at that point.
No, that's a bit of a shame, but I guess we'll actually talk about the episode now. Oh, sorry. It's fine. I love this kind of tangents. First off, of course, is the 11th seed and winner of this heat. Or, surprise, a seed winning a Series 5 episode. Wow. It is Dominator 2, of course, now with the wheel guards, as opposed to the exposed wheels they used to have.
I think it looks a lot better with the wheel guards. It looks more aesthetically pleasing, it looks more streamlined, it serves a practical purpose. It looks a lot better than it did in Series 4 when it looked a bit awkward with those wheels sticking out, I think. And the axe looks so much more better too. I think it really means business this time, just by the look of it.
Yeah, I can agree there. That it's definitely it just generally looks a lot better overall. It looks a lot like with the wheels covered up, it looks like it could actually do a lot more in the tournament, in Robot Wars.
Yeah, and to respond to a certain rant that Anson had last week about how lucky Dominator 2 is, to be fair, it has had a lot of luck in the past, but it definitely didn't have a very difficult heat, really, because, I mean, its first opponent broke down the wall, the second one was just the perfect shape for it, and the third one didn't have a weapon that was working.
What are you talking about, James? Dominator 2's always lucky. Just check out its fight with Venom in The Robots That Never Were on Jimjamatic.
Oh, what a plug.
I've already watched that.
And if you haven't watched it, watch it. And if you haven't, if you already have watched it,
watch it again.
And watch it again afterwards.
If anyone was to describe Domino in 4 words in Series 4, it was plasma nitride coated titanium, which a competitor in Extreme, New Blood, I think it was, just dismissed it as paint. I don't know what plasma nitride coated titanium is, but well, I don't know what they were boasting about, to be honest.
I think it's
anyway.
I think it's some kind of like scratch or something resistant coating or something. I remember we vaguely discussed it in like Series 4 Extreme, and I remember there was an explanation, but I can't remember for life remember what it is now. But it again, apart from the wheel guards and the improved axe design, I wouldn't say Dominator 2 is just as reliable as it used to be. Really, just I guess a lot better now without the exposed wheels. So it couldn't have like an instant pussycat or something in Series 4.
It's a good, solid, reliable robot, good shape, good design, and they've beefed it up for Series 5 and taken full advantage of the weight limit, so a good, solid, all-round competitor.
Yeah, I think they definitely earned the Series Seed 11 status as well. I mean, they got one of the fastest KOs in the entire series. So,
yep.
That was already good enough. I guess, is there anything else in Dominator 2, or should we move to the next one, I reckon? I think that'll be it then. Next we have the runner-up, which got lucky because in 2 out of its 3 matches it didn't even have a weapon working. Of course, it's Corkscrew. You would know again. You never guess this thing was Scottish, would you? Just never.
It's got a kilt on it, I should say. And I'm Scottish myself, so I'm allowed to make that joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very cool design. It looks like a corkscrew on top of a novelty springy bit on top, which actually serves a practical purpose to sort of show them where the front of the robot is. So that's pretty clever. And obviously the kilt doesn't appear in later series, perhaps because it might be seen as an entanglement. But the team themselves, I like this team. It's a father and son's team. They wear the kilt outfits, of course, but somehow it doesn't seem to be too in your face, even though they have come plugging Scottish spirit and everything. It doesn't get annoying, apart from the whole skirts joke, which seems to get repeated regularly again and again up to the final. Like they called our kilt skirts. And I'm like, yes, we know. Let's just get to the battle, for God's sake.
I mean, its main strength was Scottish spirit.
Yes.
I mean, aesthetically, like I've always kind of liked, Corkscrew, but it just had that problem with the reliability of the weapon, really.
I mean, it's all the more disappointing how early it went out in Series 6, because it seemed way more beefed up in Series 6. I think it was taking chunks.
Ironically, it was because of a competitor that was also in the seat that put them out. But I do love it when, I forget what the dad's name is, he's like, I want to see who released the pit release button! Because he thought that the pit went down by itself and everything. But that's for another heat, obviously.
Yeah, and then as soon as he saw the fuss, he's like, right, fair enough.
Whoops.
I mean, I actually, one thing I also like about the springy little corkscrew on the top of it is that it kind of acted like a kind of, like it got axes sort of stuck in it slightly. Like Exterminator managed to axe it, and Dominator 2 got a little bit of a go at it as well. And
yeah, Shug did too, actually.
Yeah, everyone wanted to have a go at the springy corkscrew for some reason. But
yeah,
I mean, you can tell this thing used to be like a car hub, because it's almost like Sir Chromalot. It's literally the base of it is just the car hub and nothing else.
Yeah, Chromalot said it was an American truck wheel hub, so maybe they used the lorry hub for this one. I'm not sure, but they're going for the basic same sort of idea anyway.
So so basically, it's confirmed that this is Sir Chromalot from Scotland then.
Yes, well they're entertained. They dressed up in the Scottish kilts formal outfit. It's a class act from Scotland, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And we'll just forget Corkscrew 2 from Series 7 when it didn't work.
Oh dear.
I mean, I think that's the curse, because it looked like Mr. Speed Squares, and that didn't end up working either properly.
I've completely forgotten about what that one even looked like. Oh my god.
It's literally just like a flying saucer looking thing, but it actually looked okay until it didn't work.
And, like every other one.
I mean, the only innovation they added onto it, apart from the different design, was the fact they put an arrow on the top of it so you could see where the front was.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was it. Because honestly, even with that corkscrew on the top, sometimes they didn't know where the front was. It would just run into walls all the time. Because it was like 20 miles an hour or something like that. So it would just run into everything, but still managed to get more aggression than Exterminator somehow. I I don't know. It's the. I guess it was like a bit of Scottish luck there. I don't know, or it was a kilt. I don't know, because every time they haven't had the kilt, they haven't done well. So,
must be a good luck charm.
It must have been. It must have been. So actually, I mentioned Exterminator. I guess they didn't have a very good time this heat. Like
No.
at all. This was I mean, Exterminator and Extreme in Series 5 just didn't get going, like in any capacity. Like, I mean, the only reason they won the first round because they were against Immortalis. Again, if they'd swapped Immortalis and under 13 Black over, I don't think they would have got past the first round, honestly.
No, I think it was just down. It was lucky they got past the first round, but it was bad luck that they weren't performing very well at all. Because it's a shame, because I love the shape of this version of Exterminator. They've got better looking self-righting arms. The axe really looks the part. Makes a nice, satisfying smash when it hits the ground. Although it really should be hitting another robot. The wedge looked good too until it got bent against Immortalis.
The part that got me was the fact they managed to just beach themselves on top of it. Like, they just attacked it with the axe and they just somersaulted onto it and then got stuck. And the fact Immortalis was so rubbish it couldn't even get off it, so they just had to wait for RefBot to separate them just so they could even move again.
I just realised Immortalis looks like it has the same kind of plough that General Gao did that I remember talking about on Mr. Psycho's Roasting Robots podcast.
How many plugs are you doing today?
I just couldn't help it. The moment I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, and I can't get it out of my head now.
I mean, yeah, in the first battle, their scoop got completely bent inwards, so by the end of it, they couldn't even move forwards. And then, in the second round, they replaced it with a block of wood.
Yay!
Honestly, they could have just got rid of the scoop. And it just splintered all over the place and just didn't do anything.
It was better off just not putting anything on the front at all, I would have thought.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think they could have just been fine just getting rid of the wedge, but they just decided not to. And as a result, they just...
The wedge might be useful against Dominator if it wasn't buckled, but they didn't get that far, unfortunately.
No, the axe was very powerful. I mean, it did come down with a lot of force. It was just incredibly inaccurate.
Yeah, they got themselves impaled right into Immortalis, but because the trouble is, spiked axes were quite popular at that point, they would get stuck inside another robot and get embedded. And in Exterminator's case, they nearly flip themselves over.
Yeah, it's kind of the reason why we don't see spiked axes anymore, is just because like they're great for piercing, but you try getting them out.
Yeah, that's why Terahertz went for a broad blade, of course, in Series 6, and that set off a new trend. And of course, Thor these days uses broad blades on its axes all the time. So you can just keep hitting them and do shock damage.
Yeah, which is arguably better than piercing the armor and then just never being able to hit again.
Yeah, Dominator 2 had a few problems with that, like especially when he was trying to fight Spikosaurus a few times. Actually, Kilohertz is probably the most notable for getting stuck into everything. Like, there's that really famous moment in the Northern Annihilator where Kilohertz just gets stuck in Spikosaurus and Spikosaurus is just spinning around the circle trying to get it off.
Oh god, I just remember what you're on about.
That's one of my favourite moments in that heat. It was just madness that entire episode. But Exterminator, I mean, it did okay in Series 6, but Series 7's really the only time they saw like real consistent success. Like I mean, the only other time they made it to a semi-final was in Series 4, and that was relatively close in their heat final. But I like to joke that they sold out, went for the Dorsor instead. But because the axe has not been working for 4 years, just stick a saw on it, that'll work. And it did. Although they got lucky because of Tsunami being a bit cocky, but that was really it. But Exterminator just had a bad series.
Yeah. When they try to do it, have to write off and go back and try again.
There's a reason why they weren't very highly seeded in Series 6.
Yeah.
Actually, were they even seeded in Series 6? I'm not sure they were seeded in Series 6. I'm trying to remember now. So I know they fought... I think they might have...
I'll double check, because I've got the Robot Wars wiki out here.
Okay. So I don't remember them being seeded, or at least very highly seeded, because they haven't really done much in Extreme and Series 5, so... I don't know why they would be highly seeded, unless they were just... I mean, they were against Firestorm, and they didn't really do well against them either.
Right, in the Exterminator, were they seeded? Yes, they were seeded 14th in Series 5, in Series 6 they were not seeded, but there were only 12 seeds in Series 6 anyway, compared to 24 in Series 5.
Ah, that explains why they weren't seeded then.
Dominator 2 got seeded 6th in the 6th Wars, so they obviously did pretty well in this one, as we said.
Yeah, it's weird because Dominator 2 used to have a habit of always getting... It always gets to the same stage in every series. Second round of the semi-finals. And then can never...
That's very good, of course. I mean, I love the glorious golden colour of Series 6 for Dominator 2 when they got rid of the flames. I thought the lovely shiny gold was nice.
Yeah, it's a shame we never saw him in Series 7, actually, because they'd had to win more, I think.
Well, a lot of teams that didn't appear in Series 7 that we liked.
Yeah, although Dominator is actually slightly more upsetting, because where they withdrew, it wasn't like in the case of Chaos 2 and all that, where they retired it and basically became part of the technical staff. They
gave other robots a good chance, though, which was nice.
Yeah, that's the good thing about Series 7, but... Yeah, poor Exterminator. I mean, they would have to wait until Series 7 now to even have any significance at this point. But the other robot, which I think was very unlucky in their second round, honestly, was King Bee PowerWorks.
Yes. For the first time ever in the series, it did not lose because it burned itself out.
And it was also the first time in a while that King Bee actually had like a really dominating round in its first battle against Chronic.
It did. Chronic was not an easy opponent either. It was genuine. It was a genuine proper contender.
Yeah, it was it was a very, very good showing from him, and it was just more of a case of that Dominator 2 is probably the worst shape for King Bee. Like,
yeah, you can't get you can't really get a worse shape than that for King Bee, really.
it was exactly the same problem that 101 had in Series 4, where it could do nothing, because all it would do is drive up on top of it, and it could get the side a bit. Like, if King Bee had managed to get like on the side and use the lifters then, it might have had a chance, but Dominator 2 is very good at keeping the front just forwards at all times, so King Bee just... And also getting a lot of axes in, like, particularly that really painful shot that was right between the forks and the frame.
Yeah.
Also, on King Bee, can we please mention the stat card?
Oh yes, you mentioned this before we recorded. Would you like to mention that then, Sean?
So, King Bee PowerWorks weapon, a front disc and a rear flipper.
Yep, they thought the front was the back and vice versa.
Oh my god.
Even though King Bee has always had front forks in every single appearance.
Despite the fact it was facing with the forks towards Chronic.
It's just... Why?
God damn it, title card guy, you had one job and his eyes were in backwards.
I mean, one theme that's happened in Series 5 a lot is that the title cards seem to be very bad. Like, I've had at least one comment almost every episode in Series 5 so far about how one stat card's been terrible, or this pitch has been terrible, this is completely wrong. And you can't get worse than that.
Oh no.
I mean,
unless you gave someone a completely different wildcard, it's just like... I don't know, it's like 4 from Series 10 somehow in this series. It's like, how?
I mean, honestly, there are some really bad ones. Like in Series 3, I remember Chaos 2 was described as having a pneumatic flip-up. Which I don't know what that's supposed to be. A flip-up. Just call it a flipper. Just what's wrong with the word flipper, but... I mean, this is the powered version of King Bee, obviously, and honestly, in its first performance, I believe that, because this seemed like the most... Like, it didn't really do as much in Series 4, unfortunately. In Extreme, it had... It actually almost made it into an Annihilator if it wasn't for losing a wheel against Steel Avenger. But...
Yeah.
It was actually... This is one of the best versions of King Bee, because it actually seemed the most consistently... It didn't really break down, I don't think in Extreme, either. Or even it did once. But it definitely didn't break down, like, every battle like it used to.
No, they got the reliability sorted out for the most part, I think, this time.
Yeah, it doesn't overheat now. Like in its later series, it just tends to go out of control for some reason. I don't know what happened to it later on, but this is the only series where it didn't legitimately break down or go out of control. They just were against a better machine, unfortunately.
I mean, the spikes at the front were very effective too, because they put a few holes into Chronic, I noticed, during the battle.
Yeah, they were very powerful, and even that little disc got a few sparks when they hit a few things.
Did they punch a Dominator 2 though? Because Dominator 2 might have been made of tougher stuff.
I don't think they got a chance to really get hit on Dominator 2. I think Dominator mostly just had the wedge in front, so they just never got a chance to hit the side of them. But I imagine they probably could have done a few hits. I think they could have done a few hits on Dominator 2, maybe if they got the chance, but yeah, it was just a bad design for them, really. But
ultimately, wrong shape to go in against robot with an axe.
yeah, and polycarb on the top. That is also not a good thing to go against an axe.
Yeah.
That's the gamble.
Polycarbonate seems to be like the like one of the weirder choices for people to pick from. I can't think of many times where polycarbonate was a great armor choice for a robot.
I guess people like polycarbonate because it was see-through, so you could see all the internal components. Because back in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was quite common to have see-through things like see-through video game controllers.
Yeah. Oh, your Game Boy, your Game Boys. I got my Game Boy Color out in the arena.
Yeah, there was something weird, like vaguely fascinating about seeing all the technology inside. But again, also it could just cut down on weight as well, to a degree. I mean, Chaos 2 throughout all its appearances had polycarb on the back, even though that thing fell off so many times and got axed and broken, but they still kept it.
Probably quite easy to cut compared to metal as well.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's just plastic, isn't it? Pretty much. So, yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, I think King B looks nicer with the polycarb, but it just sacrificed armor, I guess. But it was a bit of a shame, really, because they didn't actually, again, they didn't break down. They just got a bad matchup.
Bad draw.
Speaking of robots, I got a bad matchup. 13 Black, the first appearance of this future semi-finalist and all-star. It had a decent first match against Corkscrew.
It did. 2 spinning flywheels on it instead of just the one. So whereas some of this went for one big heavy flywheel, you wonder if 13 Blacks probably looked a bit lightweight in comparison, but they looked good when they both got up to speed together, definitely.
Yeah, it's a very unique design. Like, it's weird because it went from Limpet in Series 2 to this.
And it's a considerable upgrade, really.
To the point that you would be very...
I had no idea it was the same guy who worked on Limpet either until a lot later, of course.
Yeah, and they also made Heavy Metal in Series 9 as well.
There's such a weird variety of robots. Like, I like that they keep trying something new, though, but... You wouldn't think Limpet, 13 Black, and Heavy Metal would be all by the same guy.
It's a very odd group of robots. It's
the
like
only people I think who do them more randomly than that is Adam Clark.
Yes, he would go from robots that were just wedges, like with scoops in the front, to things like 259, and even that robot Twister it failed to qualify, which is a giant full-body spinner, to Wowot, the giant claw robot. It's like... He never kept I mean, Corporal Punishment's the only robot he kept twice. Because even 259, he upgraded it. He didn't enter in Series 7, unfortunately, but he had basically one that was very similar to 13 Black, except there was one giant disc on the front. Very similar to, I think it was Demolition Man in Series 7, but it looked very similar to that. With one giant disc, but... yeah, it's a very odd set of robots, and 13 Black, I personally think, is my favourite of them. Not just because it's semi-finalist, but... I just kind of wish he'd upgraded this thing as opposed to making Heavy Metal in Series 9. Because
the theme of the robot is interesting, definitely.
Yeah, I love the roulette wheel idea.
Yeah. It's
just such a great idea. And again, I think the only problem we had in Series 5 was the fact that it seemed to be out of control when it was driving.
What I liked about the robot as well is that if it was flipped upside down, it could still move because its flywheels functioned as wheels in a way.
Yeah, it did that quite a lot. Like I also loved its technique of just spinning around in a circle, like in the All Stars and the Extreme 2.
Definitely a very original robot, it has to be said.
Yes, it's like a full body spinner, but also a regular spinner as well. It's very strange,
basically.
Yeah, it's a very strange robot, but it also kind of reminds you slightly of Warhead, the way the discs are. Obviously, only Warhead only had one disc on it, obviously, but it's a really cool design. It's just, I mean, obviously they just had to wait until next series to really get a chance to show off their stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
But you never took. I mean, I'm just glad they were accepted at least a few more times because we got to see this thing. Yeah, okay. In Series 7, it didn't do as well. They got flipped out of the arena in Series 7, but yeah.
I think the Shremek is really the main thing 13 Black needed. Like, I would love to see a new 13 Black.
I think it could have actually benefited from a self-writer very similar to what Hypnodisc had, but in the middle.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's actually what I was thinking as well. To be honest, that could be really good for it.
I mean, that's all it really needs. I mean, and obviously maybe just upgrading the spinners with more modern technology.
Oh yeah, basically you would have to completely rebuild the robot, but otherwise, you know.
Yeah.
Well, according to the wiki, they're building a robot called 00, which is a featherweight version of 13 Black.
I'd love to see. I love featherweight versions of heavyweight robots.
Yeah.
Beetleweight versions are fun as well, because they've made a Beetleweight Limpet that took part in Bubblebots as well.
Oh, they did, didn't they?
Oh yeah. Their Beetleweight Limpet does quite well, from what I can gather.
It's a pretty cool robot, and it just looks so accurate as well. I love just seeing mini versions of robots.
And John Denny himself did say he was thinking of rebuilding the original Limpet, but with wheels rather than tracks.
I think that'd be a lot better, because the tracks were the biggest problem with Limpet.
Oh yeah, it was just too slow.
Yeah, it was too slow, and then Sakilot just chopped him off. That was a bad move, but yeah, I do love 13 Black, even if we don't get to see too much of it really in this series. But next series, what? Stay tuned.
Oh yeah.
Then of course we have a robot which I always have to say the right way. It is Derek. Because for some reason this is the only version of Derek that has the massive exclamation mark on it.
Why is there even a massive exclamation mark on it?
I don't know. I don't know why it's called Derek either. Actually,
Derek 2 does not go Derek 2.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know why it's called Derek and why the exclamation mark is there. I mean, this thing again mentioned last heat in the preview, but this thing won the best engineering award of Series 5. Which was described as CNC porn. I think that's the description Bill used for it.
Well, it's I think it is a very neat-looking robot. I love the shape of it and the etchings in the metal. The weapons are quite good as well. Like the forklift makes a lovely hiss when it flips up. It gets a good height. The saw looks like it could do damage. It's just that, well, it may have had an unlucky draw against Dominator, and even then it wasn't Dominator that beat it ultimately.
Yeah, the wall beat it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it gets the best engineer award, and it broke down in its only battle.
Great engineering. But I guess actually it was also one of those robots. Apparently, they were told not to destroy the robot too much because of because of the technology. It's why it doesn't really get mangled after the house robots get a go at it.
No, they just called cease right at the very end, which I thought was a bit unusual.
Yeah, I think it's just because of how much engineering was in it. They didn't want to like ruin it because I think they basically used a lot of the technology into Derek 2. As well, because the Derek 2 isn't much different in design than Derek. It's got the giant. Basically, they just stripped it down a lot more and basically made it a spinner as opposed to a flipper.
Derek is basically Derek, but with a saw on it instead.
Yeah, and it was actually to its disadvantage because it got flipped over in like 2 seconds by Behemoth. So maybe they should have kept the flipper.
Yeah,
but
it didn't look good with the saw.
Yeah, it's weird because we have Derek, we have Rick, and we have Eric.
Yes, but they're not relations.
Yeah, none of them are related in any way. And it's just, we have 3 robots that are almost identical to the point where last heat I was getting Maverick and Rick mixed up because I thought they were different robots. But no, they're the same thing.
That out too. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think of Derek, Sean?
I mean, I get that it's CNC porn and quite well, nicely engineered, but I don't know. I didn't really think much of Derek. It's a nice little robot and all, but I don't know. It just didn't leave that same impact with me, to be honest.
At least it wasn't like a really bad first round loser.
I mean, yeah. To be fair, like it's not a bad it's not that bad a robot, to be honest. Like they clearly put a lot of effort into it, but it's just not. It just doesn't light my world on fire personally. I will say the body does look quite nice now that you've mentioned it.
Yeah, I mean, the mystery to me is still why the exclamation mark's there. I just want. That's the only thing I'm like most concerned about this robot is what the hell the name's about. But that's one of those eternal mysteries I never get answered on Robot Wars, unfortunately.
It's mystery that's probably best left unsolved.
Yeah. What's also best left unsolved is what the hell Immortalis is.
The best robot ever, clearly.
I mean, personally, still Death Warmed Up is my favourite Team Death robot, but this thing comes incredibly close to being... it's probably the most out there thing out of all their robots, and that's saying a lot for Team Death.
It's got everything on it, doesn't it?
It has everything on it, but then nothing. At the same time, like, it has tons of... It's like they did with Death Warmed Up, but it has loads of weapons on it. Like, it has the Earthquake Swords, which is just 2 strimmer blades on the back. They got the giant meter-wide scoop, and then it's got a spike coming out of the face, and it's got these weird, like, self-writing bar things on the side. And then all this stuff on it, and then it does nothing. I mean, their fight against Exterminator is probably the most odd battles in the first round I've ever seen, because Exterminator almost kills itself, then they run into the house robots and kill themselves. That's how they died. They just run away from Exterminator for some reason, and then Bash just, like, crushes it, and then it dies. Like, it was their fault. Like, technically it was still moving, but they just ran into a house robot, because I guess this robot seems very hard to control, because it never seems to be controlled at any point of any battle it's been in.
Nah,
because
Immortalis is... I can't lie, the aesthetic of Immortalis, I'm actually... I can't lie, it doesn't look too bad to me, but otherwise, it's not the greatest.
No, you see all the holes in the front scoop and everything, they're not even put in neatly, and some of them are join each other. It's just like... You just punched all these holes in at the last minute or something, perhaps to get the weight down, I'm not sure.
I don't know, I mean, this thing is just over 1.5 meters long. Like, it is incredible, like, it's massive. And
does it really need that bumblebee bottom thing that Jonathan Pierce was calling it?
I don't think it did, no. And actually, one thing I found out is actually longer than Death Warmed Up.
Oh gosh. Death Warmed Up was taller than it was longer, I think.
Yeah, Death Warmed Up was tall, but Immortalis is the longest robot they've made. Mainly probably goes down to the saws at the back and the giant scoop on the front, but adds a lot of mileage to it. There's never been something more satisfying, though, than seeing that the back end of Immortalis just break apart when Shun hits it. Like, it was so... I don't even know what it was made of. It was probably just like some... It just shattered like pottery or something. It was...
It says on the wiki here, Shunt smashes the globe.
The globe? That's only the way I can describe it. It looks like it's made out of some kind of like... it looks like an evil version of that robot from Teletubbies. I forgot what it was called.
That was it.
Yeah, it's like an evil version of that thing, because the face looks...
Perhaps that's where you got the inspiration from.
There's also a really kind of funny bit that makes me laugh, when the Immortalis is like facing the camera and Shunt's axing the top of the head, and it looks like it's just screaming in pain. How it just looks like a robot that wants to die. It doesn't look well. Whatever it is, and the eyes glow, which just makes it even better. For no reason, they just made the eyes glow because it's just perfect. Just
aesthetically displeasing.
Yeah, it probably is the most aesthetically displeasing robot they've made, and that's saying a lot for PS Resistance. Because that thing was awful, but this, I think, it's the most mismatched robot out of all the things they've made. There's not one part of it that actually gels with the other bit. They just stuck scrap together, and that is that's the Team Death way.
I can't lie though, I do like it personally visually.
Yeah,
it's a mess, but it's my mess.
Because I was tempted. I'm tempted at some point to make another top 10. I might do like my top 10 favorite teams or something, and Team Death will be in there. I can guarantee that for how weird my tastes are in robots.
Didn't they come back not too long ago? And they have this new robot.
Ah, yes. We I think we used a picture of it last time. It's supposed to be like a crusher, but it looks more like a scoop. It's like
I've not seen it in action, but ever since I saw it, I have been very intrigued. So if anyone has a video, if anyone can direct me to a video on Twitter, that'd be just link to it. Link me it on Twitter. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. In Series 6, they failed to qualify with Death Rider, and then they qualified for Series 7 with Metalis.
Yeah.
Which is sort of a similar idea from the front scoop, but they went for a crusher there. But the thing I love about Team Death is that we know that their robots are crap. They know their robots are crap. But most importantly, they know that we know their robots are crap.
Yeah.
Sorry. They know that we know their robots are crap. And we all just want to have a good time and have a good laugh. And, well, they're quite open about it. That's what I like, unlike Hippopotamus.
Yeah.
Sort of taking it quite seriously, you know?
Yeah, I mean they called their own robot piece of scrap in Series 2.
Yes.
I mean they're willing to admit that robots are rubbish because they just go for aesthetic. I mean, Immortalis also failed to qualify for Series 4, which is such a shame. Because I mean, this thing would have been just a free pass for 2 robots basically.
It would have been nice to hear Colin Scott and company do a bit of talking as well, because they never really spoke to the teams who lost in the first round unless it went to a judge's decision. Yeah. In which case we got to see John Denny talk a bit because they made it to the judge's decision, but we didn't get to see the teams for Derek or Immortalis have a chat with Craig afterwards, sadly.
And lest we forget, this thing also competed in Techno Games' football event. Where they did just as well as they did in this match. They just wandered around and then broke down, pretty much.
I wonder what they called the robot in that.
I mean, I would say it's funny because out of all the Team Death robots, this is probably the one that had the least control. Like, I mean, right at the beginning of its battle, it just spun around in circles and just kept driving out, just wandering around the arena.
Well, something that size would be really cumbersome to drive anyway.
It was only 2-wheel drive as well, so.
Oh god.
I know no wonder they lost to I think it was Behemoth and Arnold Terminator, I think they lost to. I think in Techno Games. I mean, 2 great, well controlled robots. You're not gonna beat them two.
No.
Whoever's with them, Immortalis has to put most of the slack.
Yep.
And then the final robot for this first round was Chronic 2, looking a lot more Apollo design now than the boxy version from Series 4.
A lot more streamlined. I love this look. I mean, they sort of go for the Dominator 2 approach as well by covering the wheels up with this version. But in future versions, the wheels are unguarded, I think.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. It seems like a bad move, personally, like making wheels more exposed, as opposed to less.
The flipper also only covers the front part of the robot too, rather than goes all the way up like Apollo's did.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more improved than the Series 4 one, because the Series 4 one, from what I saw, was like really empty inside, and the flipper was okay, but it was very it fell off.
A lot of wasted space.
Yeah, a lot of wasted space. That seems a common theme.
One thing I will say though, like the flipper, I like the power on the flipper. Like, it's very clear that was a predecessor to Apollo. You know, but one thing I will say that proved to be a big problem was that armor is still not great. Like, if King B can ram through your armor,
it's not a good sign.
What could a big heavy spinner do to that, do you think?
Oh god!
Imagine Hypnodisc or something, or S3. Probably would have ripped the entire side panel off, probably. I mean, I don't know why, but I don't know why. I find this funny, but on the side of Chronic 2, it has the name Chronic 2, then it just has yeah. Just written on the side of it. Yeah. And they don't ever and like JP never references it, and no one references it. It's just there. Like, you get Chronic 2, yeah.
Well, according to Team Chronic themselves, this is me reading off the wiki again. They said, we dropped the yeah in the robot name this year for Series 6 because it sounded a bit stupid. Their word. Even they thought it sounded a bit stupid.
I think if they thought it was stupid, then... I mean, in Series 6 they came with a sticker saying, I love beer.
Seven, I think, but not beers in the drink. Or maybe it's a double entendre or something.
Maybe so.
They had I love beer on the back of the Series 4 robot too.
Chronic is like the most modern example of a robot that competed on both Robot Wars and BattleBots.
Oh, they didn't they? Yeah, I forgot they appeared on BattleBots.
Yeah, because all the footage is basically just hidden away somewhere.
Yeah, it didn't do too well on BattleBots, from what I heard, though. Actually, because that version that was on BattleBots is the one that was basically is the one that was basically Apollo at that point. And it's even the same shape as Apollo, like with the side little kind of spike on the bit as well. It's the one that's the most Apollo-like out of the lot, but Chronic's had a very unlucky time, like in the series. Like I mean, they lost to Mighty Mouse.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind. They have lost to Mighty Mouse at some point. And Mighty Mouse only won their battle in Series 7 is because they just ran around nothing to break down.
Yeah.
And that was it. I mean, I don't know.
Chronic did have success after Robot Wars, though, because they actually won the Roaming Robots Winter Tour in 2005 and the Fighting Robots Association Championship in 2005. So this was the same event that Eruption made its mark on in the past, as well as Iron Ore after Robot Wars ended.
Yeah.
So they're part of an exclusive club of mostly flippers, but robots that won the then successor to Robot Wars for live events. So that's pretty neat, like for an accolade and stuff.
And it's also and it's also really cool that then these guys became the Series 8 champions, well, inadvertently when being used by another team, converted into Apollo. And I love that, because this comes from a robot that you wouldn't have thought, oh yeah, this robot in some other form will become a champion. Like, nothing about Chronic in any of its appearances in any of the series in the classic series made you think this thing was going to be like a champion.
It was the same with Iron Ore as well, because they made the Heat Finals, and they were just showing, because they were normally an Axbot back then, but then they started to add a flipper, and the flipper proved to be very effective, so they decided just to stick with the flipper. And they ended up winning 2 Fighting Robot Association champions with Iron Ore 5, and have made great impressions since then. Sadly, not in Robot Wars Series 10 because of signal problems, but they went on to better things. Terahertz won 2 Fighting Robots Association championships.
Yeah, and even Behemoth improved massively on the live circuit.
Big Nipper as well, yeah.
Yeah. The live circuit was definitely the place to go if you wanted to keep your robots going.
Yeah, it definitely breathed a lot of life into the Robot Wars robots.
Yeah. So late series of Robot Wars, this is kind of how it all started for these robots that would ultimately become even more legendary than they were at the time.
Shame it didn't work for Team Death, though. I'm sorry, I love you, Team Death.
One more thing we'll talk about Chronic in its battle, of course, against King B, wasn't it? Yeah. And hopelessly outclassed by King B. They were just outdriven by them. King B punctured them, and then once they got on the flame pit, Chronic's spikes on the back burst into flames. I quite like that.
Yeah, this match actually went to the judges, though. That's the thing. I mean, 5 minutes, Chronic was just being beaten up by King B the entire time.
But still at the end, so technically it had to go to a decision.
Yeah. Actually, one thing I noticed about Chronic in this particular series is that it was very slow.
Yeah.
Because it didn't seem to... I mean, King B's a decently fast robot, and they weren't able to keep up with them in any capacity. It just kind of... It was all King B ramming them. I don't know if something broke in them, because I didn't see any speed throughout the entire battle. I don't know.
Much in the way of signal problems, because they did okay in Extreme, didn't they?
Yeah, they did alright in Extremes. It might have been that might have been the case. I don't know. I mean, nothing really happened in Dominator 2 and Derek's battle, because it was just a load of driving, and then Derek just ran into the wall and died.
GP likes to say they were stuck on the wall, but I think something just came not loose inside Derek, and it broke down that way.
Yeah, it probably was just a removable link or something, because it didn't even hit the wall that hard. It just kind of nudged it and then died.
Yeah.
Actually, the 13 Black and Corkscrew fight was actually kind of close at one point, until Corkscrew just got stuck inside them.
Yeah.
And then they didn't really separate very well from afterwards, and you can actually hear that infamous screeching noise that 13 Black loved to do.
Yeah.
Where one of its wheels, when one of the spinners wasn't working, and it would just have this screeching noise coming from the robot. And also it started smoking. That's also not a good sign.
Yeah, I think Corkscrew went through because it appeared to be the more controlled of the 2 robots. They were both aggressive, but Corkscrew probably had a bit more control going for it. Yeah,
because there were numerous points in that battle where 13 Black had an opportunity to just run into them with the spinners, and it just kept running into the wall instead. And maybe it's because he just hadn't made John Denny had very little practice driving 13 Black, because obviously in Series 6 it was a lot more controlled.
Yes.
But in Series 5 he didn't seem to have any grasp on the controls now, because he was just running into a lot of the walls and...
I mean, he probably wasn't quite used to it in the arena yet, because when I was fighting with my Ant Roots, in my first 2 battles I went down the pit quickly because I couldn't control things properly, but then after I won the first battle, things got better a lot quicker, and I managed to stay away from the pit most part on my own part, so that was good.
Yeah, that has to be one of the more frustrating ways of losing a fight, though.
Yes, it is indeed. But yeah, John Denny, he obviously he was not used to driving this robot around in the arena. I don't know where he would have tested it and so on.
It's a very odd design as well to try and make work in a good for good control, because it's just...
Imagine the centrifugal forces made by 2 high-speed flywheels sort of spinning against each other and everything. It's crazy.
And all you've got is 2 wheels in the middle to make it work.
Yeah.
It's quite hard to control. I mean, you see some spinners like look at robots like Concussion or Pulsar, and they get like massively stuck, you know, and if they start gyro dancing.
Yeah.
So they were lucky they didn't. Maybe they obviously tends to the technology as well. Imagine seeing a gyro dancing 13 Black now.
Yeah, I mean, this was in the days before gyro dancing even became a thing with robots, which shows just how much they've come on since then.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But the Exterminator and Immortalis fight, again, I don't know what was happening in this fight.
Exterminator seemed to be just firing its axe at just about anything, including the RefBot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, RefBot and him, I think had a little scuffle.
Yeah.
I think the point... Actually, I just realised the point where Exterminator's scoop broke is when they got stuck on top of Immortalis, because it bent backwards.
Yeah.
Because
Immortalis weighs 96 kilograms, and Exterminator weighs about the same, so you have to think about how much that would stress on... I think it's aluminium, because Exterminator was made of the stuff. And aluminium is not as strong as titanium or steel.
Yeah. And I love that Immortalis essentially did absolutely nothing in this fight, because they didn't really have... If Immortalis hadn't ran into Sergeant Bash and died, then Exterminator might have actually had a hard time having a go against them, because they couldn't actually fight. They couldn't actually go forwards after that point. And that's probably why they ran into RefBot a few times, because RefBot was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, oh, "I can't move forwards now."
Yeah, the drive really got fucked at that point.
And of course, Exterminator's weapon, the only thing they could attack with was on the front end, so they wouldn't be able to use it if they attacked with their rear end, I feel like.
Yeah, if Immortalis was actually a decently controlled robot, they could get round the back of them. But they'd already just won, like, almost like Immortalis got bored of the fight, and just went, "Oh, what's Sergeant Bash doing?" And then they killed them.
Immortalis was probably a bit too slow as well, even slower than Crippled Exterminator.
Yeah, and they were so big and they couldn't even fit in the pit.
Every Team Death robot's been pretty slow, actually, and cumbersome, but that's just the nature of Team Death.
Yeah, it must be the motors they use or something, because they must use they must recycle a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was just windscreen wiper motors from a Mini for pièce de resistance, so God knows what they would have used in Immortalis.
It's kind of sad. I think Death Woman might have been their fastest robot, and that's saying a lot.
The best robot.
It's actually sadly the robot's probably done the most in the battles as well. They at least rammed into Stealth.
And Stealth was slower than the one-legged tortoise.
Yeah, it's funny because they actually made Stealth look only good in comparison because they were Team Death robot. If they were against any other robot, it was just they didn't look very good. And also again, the satisfying crash on Immortalis' back end is beautiful.
Yes.
Shouldn't always get those beautiful shots of the axe, and that was probably his best ones in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was like the time to be accurate with the axe.
Yeah, it wasn't a precision shot, but it was a beautiful shot. And I also he did try to hit the head of Immortalis because again, seems to have a thing against faces. Although he never actually hit the kind of Frankenstein-looking head once, though, which is a bit of a shame.
Off goes the Bumblebee bot. The only thing Jonathan Pierce said he thinks it could resemble out there. It's a globe, but yes, Bumblebee bot sounds quite funny.
Yeah, it's like we had Bee Capitator a few heats ago, so...
Yeah, and there was Wasp as well in another series. And in the Ant-Wheel series, there was a competitor called Bee-Bot, which was a six-wheel drive bee-themed robot that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, I remember Bee-Bot. Yeah, I remember, actually, because I watched the Ant-Wheel one where you were in, and I saw Bee-Bot a few times.
Yeah, nice little shout-out for its owner, Jeremy, there.
Yeah, but...
I befriended him in the battles because my Fighting Fox was drawn against him, and I was able to outpush him, but I still ended up in the pit because I couldn't drive Fighting Fox for shit because it's so fiddly.
That was it.
But yeah, Decapitator, of course. I've driven a Ant-Weight version of that in the upcoming Ant-Weight Anarchy special as well, which is pretty fun.
That's pretty cool. But one last thing about the Exterminator and Immortalis fight is it makes you realise how bad Exterminator was when it was against a fodder robot and they had trouble against it.
Yes.
A Team Death robot.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, until Series 7, it really did just struggle. I think it was a bit too spacious for a lot of its stuff, and just loads of other problems, really. It's
funny because they mentioned in Series 4, don't mention that axe again. I'd say just don't mention Series 5 in general, because...
The only thing that improved about Exterminator in Series 5, besides the shape and the weapon itself, that was all that improved. Everything else had gone to pieces, basically.
Yeah, it just... it's such a fall from grace, because looking at it in Series 3, it was so fast, it actually took out a few robots, and you're like, yo, this is actually quite a cool thing. Like, only Panic Attack defeated it. And then Series 4 had an okay run, but in Series 5 and Series 6, it just never seemed to really get going. I mean, never had really tough opponents in Series 5 and 6, so...
Yeah, they scrapped it completely for Series 7 and went with something completely different, and it worked.
Actually,
very well.
It worked very well, because they managed to just destroy everything. I mean, the saddest one...
In the end, the only thing that could beat it was Typhoon, and, well, if it hadn't been for Atomic flipping itself onto its back, Typhoon would have gone out, and then, well, who knows what might have happened, so...
It would have been an interesting grand final, anyway. But
yeah, I think Atomic would probably have won it, though, because that scoop at the front of it was very durable, and, well, vertical spinners are a bit different from horizontal ones, but we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
yeah, definitely so. I guess we move on to round 2, and the very unfortunate King B battle. It was just bad for King B. Like, there wasn't a point where King B really had any control. It was all Dominator 2.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire thing. And again, it's just the wrong shape. Just that's what it boiled down to.
Dominator 2 had the wedge design that King B kept driving up on top of, and the flat top, perfect for an axe to get into. And, well, Dominator 2's axe did put in quite a lot of holes. They said they filled it with a lot of holes, and, yeah.
It was
Polycarbonate, not the best choice.
Nah, it was a very straightforward battle for Dominator 2, really, because it was just waiting to get the good hits in, and they got at least like 2 or 3 really good solid hits. Like one particularly, as I said before, between the frame of the forks and the main body, and it looked so precise. Like Dominator 2 just gets those precise hits somehow. Like I don't know what it is, because it's a very imprecise looking mechanism. Yeah, it always manages to get a very good hit in.
Yeah, its axe doesn't hit as fast as Exterminator's did, but it's seemed to be a lot more effective, if you like. Just they seem to be more controlled with it.
Yeah, at least they kept all the wheels this time, unlike an Extreme.
Yeah,
lost one to Steel Avenger somehow.
No, that was just King B PowerWorks was definitely the strongest King B robot up to that point. Because like we said, it didn't burn out, it didn't fall to pieces. It just had a bad throw.
Yeah, it was a very, very unfortunate draw for it. But again, that just shows you how good Dominator 2's design is, I guess, against these kind of robots. It just couldn't...
I think King B could have beaten Exterminator, though, if they had been drawn together instead, because Exterminator, well, they had a probably more powerful axe than Dominator.
Yeah.
Would have just outmaneuvered it, probably.
Definitely, and actually then it would have been like a King B Dominator 2 final, so I can't imagine them being beaten by Corkscrew, in the same, as evidenced in the Heat final. But the other battle with them, again, showing how bad Exterminator's managed to get, it lost her robot, a full body spinner with no weapon.
Yeah.
Oh god, when you put it like that, like it's bad enough when I watched it, but then you say it like that.
Yeah.
Like full body spinners are the kind of robot that suffers the most when the weapon dies.
Yeah, and bear in mind their previous battle was a struggle against a Team Death robot. It was not looking good for them this series. I mean, Shunt just didn't give 2 shits in this fight. He just axed inside Exterminator multiple times. Like, even though way outside the CPZ, he was just like, this is getting boring, I'm just going to keep axing them now. And it was...
too over again.
Yeah, and just surprisingly Corkscrew had more control. That's the thing, like, they just, even though the weapon, even though it's very hard to tell the robot front was sometimes, they still managed to get a few more hits in, and Exterminator just fired his axe all the time and never actually hit anything. Apart from
it did hit Corkscrew in the cockpit once, the springy bit at the top. But,
yeah, that's just...
That would have been superficial. That would not really count as proper damage, I don't think.
Yeah, they don't really consider superficial as damage most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, also
it's still into the judges at the end of the day, though. Both robots were still going.
Yeah, so although Exterminator was definitely the one that was in a lot more pain by the end of the fight, they were just on the flame where it was shouldn't. So
it was just sort of staggering around, whereas Corkscrew was moving more freely.
It was quite a painful fight for them. I mean, they had, also the fact they didn't have the scoop on the front now. They had this block of wood on it, which kept splintering and probably didn't help them maneuver.
Wood.
I mean, it just span around all the time. It never seemed to. I think it must have like hindered the traction or something, because they never seem to actually spin. They spend a lot of time spinning in circles, but not actually going forwards and hitting anything. And it was just a bad fight, and for Exterminator, and everything just fell apart. I mean, honestly, even if they had made the Heat final, I don't see how Dominator 2 would have lost to them. Personally,
no, Dominator 2 had a lot more control. A lot more control. That would have been enough. Simple.
Yeah, a lot less problems, really.
Yeah, Dominator 2 is nothing but consistent. Exterminator is nothing but inconsistent. That's the problem. I mean, it was bad. Real bad. But Corkscrew got through at least, despite not having a weapon.
Looking at the fight, though, Marlon Pritchard on the Exterminator website said that Fight 2 was the end of the line in Series 5 due to a battery failure, basically.
Ah.
So that's how they weren't running properly.
Ah, right, okay. That's probably why they weren't working too well, then. Nothing was going right for Exterminator, was it? Let's face it. Not a single thing. And the Heat final was relatively simple as well, really. I mean, honestly, Corkscrew couldn't do nothing.
In a way.
Yeah, Corkscrew really couldn't do anything. Like, even less so than it could against Exterminator, and all it took was, like, one little kind of bit where they got stuck on the wedge, and they just did a little flick, and they flipped it over, and it just kind of sat on its side dead.
Shunt activates the corkscrew top and sort of pulls the top off, kind of almost like Banshee, but not completely.
Yeah, and the Sakilot just almost cuts the corkscrew in two.
And they move it to the floor flipper, and gives it the old Highland fling, if you like.
Yeah, and the kilt set on fire.
Yes.
Oh, bad treatment, eh?
Spirit, in more ways than one, if you like.
I mean, I think it's bad practice to look up someone's kilt, surely. They shouldn't have shown those shots underneath. That was highly inappropriate.
It was more funny when it happened to Fighting Talk, but then that was an obvious joke robot. Corkscrew.
The Tartan Terror.
Oh, yeah.
The greatest Scottish robot ever, of course.
Not Worm.
I mean, any thoughts on this, Sean? Sorry, I feel like I've been leaving you out, are you?
I mean, really, you've covered it all, to be honest.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
That's all right.
I was actually just listening to you, which is why I didn't interrupt.
Oh no, it's fine. I mean, you can interrupt us. You know, it's part of the format. Besides, you've already, I guess you're still tired from all this talking we did yesterday about things like banana armor and stuff. So,
I mean, I am partially tired mainly just because of the time. I'm an old man.
You're old. How old are you?
No, I'm not that old.
I'm saying you can't. I mean, if you're anything like, I mean, you can't be that old. Come on.
I like to no, don't worry. I'm not actually old. I'm only 21.
Only 21. Fair enough then.
I'm 31 in a few days.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Well, I'm 24, so no excuses, mate. No excuse. But overall, what would you give this episode out of 10?
Oh God. 5.
5.
I mean, there's like it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't really that like. Yeah, it wasn't like that great either.
It wasn't very exciting.
No.
I mean, a lot of things seemed relatively straightforward in terms of the battles.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably give it a 5 as well, honestly. I mean, I don't see much.
I'm going to give it a 6, but you go on.
Was it, sorry?
I'm going to give it a 6, but I'll let you go first.
I was just going to say that I was going to say similar to what Sean said. Really, it was just not a very exciting episode, but there was nothing really bad about it. Like, but the only thing that made me laugh was Immortalis, really. And that,
I thought the episode itself was entertaining enough, apart from the fights with Exterminator, to be quite honest. Except when Immortalis got its back end caved in by Shunt, of course. The odd little moments. The battles between Chronic and King B were good. 13 Black and Corkscrew. Anything with Dominator in it, obviously. So I'd say the battles were generally better than average. We only saw 3 house robots in this whole thing. Besides Report, you saw Sergeant Bash, Sir Kilowat, and Shunt. That was it. So we never saw Matilda or Dead Metal getting involved.
No, a little bit less variety this time.
Imagine what would happen if Matilda's flywheel went into Immortalis. It'd be absolute chaos.
Oh my God! I would pay good money to see that.
I would pay to watch that many times over again. I'll just say that.
Still a bit bamboozled how Derek won Best Engineered Award when it was beaten by Dominator 2, which was also nominated for the award.
And they also lost because they ran into a wall.
Yes.
So, great engineering, clearly.
You must wonder if the judges were on the take or something.
I think it was just all about the amount of technology they had in that robot.
Distracted by the shiny.
Very shiny. In that case, they should have given it to Cerberus ages ago. They were the shiniest robot ever. But yeah, next heat is Heat G with the infamous. One of my favourite moments of Series 5 in general is, of course, Tornado getting defeated by the polka dotted fur robot.
Yes.
It is perfect because it's just, you know.
Tornado was the one I wanted to see winning the battle, but then when I saw what DOTR did, I was rooting for DOTR for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they were being defeated by Spawn again, the winner of the heat, who, for once, unlike their Series 6 performance, they actually had an okay run, a really dominating run in their heat.
I can't lie, I love Tornado, but I marked the fuck out in the fight against DOTR.
We're all rooting for DOTR. I mean, I like Spawn again in this series, but come on, DOTR, man. DOTR.
I mean, just keep that in mind. DOTR has beaten a champion.
Yeah, DOTR has been in this is his second heat final now. I mean,
yeah. In fact,
it really got stuck in. It actually literally deserved those wins it got.
I think it has deserved. I mean, it deserved both its wins in this heat series.
Easily.
It definitely earned its victories in Series 3 as well. So it's one of those robots that's kind of a slow burner, no pun intended. How it definitely seems to look very, relatively inconspicuous, apart from the fact it's got covered in fur all the time. But if you take that out of the equation, it's just it's probably one of the most sturdy joke bots there is, really.
It's probably the best joke bot there ever was, I think, in the classic series. I mean, it still has that boggle-eyed grin on it and everything that makes you can't help but love it. You can't help but laugh. And I think the shovel is really a great feature for Series 5. That really expands on where the original flipping arm went on.
Also, just one thing to keep in mind, that with DOTR's win-loss record, the 2 losses it had in the World Series, Robot Wars Series 10, but only balanced out the win-loss record to 13 wins and 13 losses overall.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, they got 13 wins and 13 losses. That's not unlucky then.
That's why Robot Wars stopped being aired, because they had double 13.
God damn it, DOTR, I'll blame you.
DOTR runs everything down.
There's actually an Antweight version of DOTR called Diatant, which has been in the Annual World Series circuit, and it actually defeated my robot Polaris in the most hilarious way possible, because it flipped me on my back, and then I had to use my flipper to try and walk across the arena to get to the walls.
Oh, I remember that.
And he gives me a piece of the DOTR fur as a souvenir, which I have Polaris wear for the remainder of the tournament.
Oh, I remember. That was funny. That was a funny way to go out. Let's just say that.
That was the exact best way you could ever go out in a battle like that. We wanted to make it entertaining. And Peter Redmond gave Diatant his blessing too. So it's like he says, DOTR couldn't self-write, but Diatant can self-write, and it's got interchangeable axe and flipper combos, which I think could easily work on the large full-size DOTR as well, for sure.
That's pretty cool, that. He's got his own blessing as well. I mean, they did better than Tornado, the supposed king of Extreme, pretty much, who only lost in their Mayhem qualifier, I think.
Yeah.
And, Challenge Belt, it was so good they had to do Challenge Belt again, just because they didn't want to run out of time to do it. And after all that, they get pushed into the pit by DOTR, because of course.
In the second round.
In the second round, seeded number 12. Only Chaos 2 defeated them before, and of course, and they, so well in Extreme, pretty much overpowered in Extreme, and in Series 6 and 7. Yet, of course, it's DOTR. It's one of those weird robots to defeat them. Like, they've been defeated by relatively powerful robots over time. You got Chaos 2, Storm 2, Razor, DOTR. One of those.
Greg Charlton was on DOTR's team this time as well.
Yeah, that was true. Yeah, he was also on the team for some reason. Like, I love that interaction when he comes in. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" He looks kind of like, "Hi, Dad."
Yeah. And Philippa goes and embarrasses him on camera.
Yeah, I was actually kind of happy though, because it was nice to see just a standard Tornado performance in one series for once. Like in Series 6 and 7, you see these guys all the time, and you've been seeing them so many times in Extreme. It's kind of nice to have a break.
Yeah.
Because And I like Tornado, but I get a little sick of them after a while. Just seeing the same robot all the time.
That's the same with how I felt about Razor.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Razor, you get to see way more Razor in this series. Oof.
Oh yeah.
Because they wouldn't stop showing Razor because they won.
Razor kind of deserved it this time, at least.
Yeah, at least they earned their win. You know,
yeah.
They actually earned it. Plus, also, it felt nice to actually get past the heat for a change.
Yeah.
Then there's Evolution. The
shaped like a tank, made out of MDF.
Yeah, the MDF tank.
Oh yes.
The one
that spins and has a blade attached to the end of it. That's basically the weapon.
Yeah, it's a rotating turret, and it got bullied by Sir Killalot because it was made out of wood, probably. So he just thought, I'm going to destroy this thing, even though I don't have to.
But it made it past the first round.
Yeah, it technically made it past the first round. An MDF tank made it past the first round. But bloody hell, I just find that hilarious. It's just,
it was a joke robot. The guy knew he was not going to do well with it and stuff. He was probably as surprised as anybody to get past round 1.
Although it went out in spectacular fashion against Spawn again.
Oh yeah.
Just thrown out of the arena. Like that was one of the quickest KOs prior to Dan Tom Kieran Gravity.
Well, House Robot did get to have their fun with it.
Yeah, the House Robot got to have fun with it in the battle they won.
Yeah,
it's almost like
bent its barrel completely.
It's funny. It's identical to Trident in Series 3, how they got beaten up in their heat final, even though they won. It's just weird things.
Just as you make a robot far too shiny, if you make a robot out of wood or anything that's easily breakable, the House Robot's going to have a field day.
I mean, just look at Rohog when Mathilde just whacked it with the flywheel so many times and all the fiberglass broke off it. Who else we got? Oh yeah, we've got Sabretooth, the first appearance of Gabe, and his continuous losing streak until Series 9.
It kind of resembles a sort of Combine Harvester, I think this one does.
Yeah, this one...
Christ, I forgot that's what the original Sabretooth looked like. Oh my goodness.
Well, obviously the best version of Sabretooth has to be the one with the wheel in Series 6. Come on, let's be honest here.
Yeah.
I mean, this one actually, to its credit, did actually do some alright damage to Evolution. It just stalled.
Yeah, and Gabe did try different designs each time until he finally had something that worked.
Yeah, I mean, the Series 9 one was actually one that finally managed to do something. The Series 8 one was okay looking, but just couldn't self-right, which is a...
The only part Gabe designed apparently did not even work.
Yeah, it's quite a common theme that whenever people actually help Gabe out with robots, they actually work, but whenever Gabe makes a robot himself, it never works. I wonder why that is.
Collaboration is a good thing, you know. Some people are mechanical geniuses, others are not, and... Well, I'm no mechanical genius and stuff, but I have a good vision in my head, and maybe that's what Gabe has, I don't know.
Yeah, Gabe's not a bad driver, actually, and especially in Series 9 and 10, he wasn't that bad. He just is... I guess he just needs, like a lot of people, he may just needs more help with the other stuff he needs to do, really.
Series 10 Sabretooth was sadly disappointing, because, like, you look at it and you think, oh my god, that looks like the perfect Sabretooth. They've knocked it out of the park. And then you see it hit Behemoth, and Behemoth just kind of gets knocked over and just keeps on going.
I mean,
it did quite well in the 10-way rumble, though.
Yeah, it just drove into the pit. It drove into the pit, though.
Yeah, I think the Sabretooth modular construction, that was Craig Danby's undoing. It was him that helped Gabe out with that part. Well, Craig Danby himself is a master of modular construction, and to his credit, Sabretooth was actually quite a reliable robot to some extent in that series, except when it stopped against Behemoth, and that was only because part of it got buckled, so it beached the wheels off the ground. There was no mechanical failure.
Yeah, I mean, in Series 7, they weren't allowed in the series because they couldn't reduce the RPM of their spinning disc.
Yeah.
It was like 9,000 RPM or something. Something mental.
Like, for back then, that would have been,
It was too dangerous.
Yeah.
Which is a bit hypocritical because they brought Typhoon in and it kept breaking the wall every 2 seconds.
Imagine what Apex would have done in that series.
Oh,
I've had that thought myself, actually. Just imagine.
We're taking out 3 camera crew, probably.
I'm pretty sure there'd have been no survivors.
They just boomeranged and killed everyone. Oh my god.
Apex has the best win-loss record.
Yeah. One of the other robots is actually a former semi-finalist who I actually forgot was in Series 5, Gravedigger.
Yes. They've gone from a flipper, like a 4-inch flipper, to an axe this time.
Yeah, and the axe actually didn't look that bad, and it was one of those very sad cases where they were just against Tornado.
But just an unlucky draw again.
Yeah.
Because in Series 4 they went out because, well, the flipper didn't work. That was it.
Yeah,
and they were just unlucky to be against Tornado, which was able to sort of run them ragged, if you like.
And I have to say, I love the artwork on Gravedigger.
Yeah. I built a cardboard model of Gravedigger when I was 13, and I tried to copy the artwork exactly.
It's a really good design. Like, I mean, the Series 3 one was just a coffin, motif. There wasn't anything else to it, but...
People called it Cassius clothing stuff, but in Series 4 and 5 it looked more like itself. It had its own identity at that point.
Yeah, and it was such a massive shame, because I think it was better with the flipper, honestly, than the axe.
Yeah, the flipper was better. They probably just wanted to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, it would have worked better against Tornado, though, in retrospect. Because Tornado is one of those robots that just won't die most of the time. But it was just a bad draw. Again, if it was against swap it out with one of the other robots in the team, it might have been done a bit better. But it's just a real shame, because again, I just keep forgetting Gravedigger was in this series, because it just didn't really make much of an impact.
Yeah, because it went out round 1 in Series 4, it went out in round 1 in Series 5, and never appeared again after that. So
yeah, they just didn't bother coming back again, which is a bit of a shame.
I don't really consider it a forgettable robot, but it is one of those robots. He just seems to. It's a fun robot that just seems to disappear from the back of your mind.
Yeah, it's a bit like to me, it's very similar to Centurion. That's a robot I liked it in Series 4, but then it just died.
Yeah, I didn't really take the side like that, so I'm joining Steve Merrill.
Yeah, and I'm also going to make a giant skeleton that climbs ropes. That's the way to build. That's the way to go.
Some people are just better at there are some people that are better at techno games than they were at Robo Wars, and Ray Taylor's Credit was one of them.
Yeah, and even I swear also was another team that was really good. I think it might have been one of the teams I'd like. It might have been the Loco team, I think, or something like that, who did okay in techno games. I can't remember. Then there's actually in their first appearance of a robot that I actually really like, and it never got past the heats, and I was very sad about it. It was Hydra.
Yes.
I just adore this thing. I don't know why. Like, I just wish it had done well in Series 6, and in Series 7 it had the chance, and it got taken out by gravity. Because, of course.
Yeah, it goes for the axe and flipper combo, which is one of my favourite weapon combos at the time, because it was first done with Mortis, and it was done with Vercingetorix. Hydra seemed to have nailed that sort of idea, because the axe and flipper were equally potent, I think.
Yeah, I don't really understand the design in Series 5, though, with all those weird springs and stuff on it. Just all over the place.
It was just a front scoop and pneumatic flipping arm, I think. I don't think they had an axe in Series 5.
No, it was just the arm. Yeah, the flipping arm was also not very good in Series 5, because it didn't really extend much out of the robot. Which is why they didn't really get a good flipping against Spawn Again at any point. Well, they actually got some decent flips against Dominator 2 in Series 6. It definitely... I think the axe wasn't... I think personally sticking to the flipper might have been a better choice, because I think the axe never really was very punishing. But the flipper was definitely very good in the robot. It just got very lucky against Dominator 2, where they were able to... They were just taking a lot of damage from them, more than anything.
In the future episodes, Hydra actually goes against Commangetorix, and they lock axes with each other.
It's a really cool sight as well to watch. It's like when Centurion and Excalibur did that, and that was...
That's so cool. It's good to see them go weapon to weapon like that. And of course, in future wars, we had Aftershock and Carbide go against each other.
Actually,
yes, I do like stuff like that. Just weapon on weapon. I mean, personally prefer Aftershock and Carbide, but you know, I will admit that other site was pretty good as well.
Of course, you get flipper on flipper. I mean, Apollo and Eruption together, or Rapids involved as well, and everything. Imagine a three-way battle between those two robots. That would be great.
That would actually.
That'd be really cool. I mean. Also, a fun fact about Hydra is that they appeared in techno games under the name Bugs Buggy. Which was, it was like painted differently, and it had like a Bugs Bunny plush on the back of it. And it actually did okay in the obstacle course, from what I remember. And I think it also appeared in either sumo or the football. I've not watched techno games in a while, but I know it definitely appeared in the obstacle course. And I actually think it beat the Bigger Brother team or something. I don't remember. It did get to the top 5 or something, so it was actually worthy. But I just love the name Bugs Buggy. I don't know why. That's just. Really funny. And then possibly one of the weirdest and least effective first round robots ever is Dome.
Yes.
What? Their weapon. The weapon was a trebuchet. And they technically beat Vader in their qualifying battle, which is actually why Vader didn't qualify, because they got beaten by Dome.
How did that trebuchet even work? Because I thought a trebuchet was a projectile weapon from medieval times. And you can't use projectiles in Robot Wars, so how exactly did it work?
It was basically like a saw blade that didn't spin on like an arm, and it just threw out of the a bit like a 2-bar lifter, except it just kind of flies out instead, and it's supposed to like retract back and then just hit almost. It's basically just a glorified flail, really. It's not. It doesn't even fire anything. But the weapon only fired once in the qualifiers, and it tried to fire in against Dietor, and Dietor just flicked it over, and then the thing just flopped out.
Yeah. And they previously attempted to compete with a middleweight in Series 3 called Samurai. Yeah. They tried to get it to be heavyweight, but it wasn't heavy enough, so they tried to enter it middleweight. But for some reason it didn't appear. I think it just didn't qualify for the middleweight event in Series 3.
That's quite sad when the middleweights in Series 3 weren't even that great either.
No.
That says a lot about Samurai more than about them. But yeah, Dome, it's such a forgettable robot. Like
it's just cannon fodder. It's just cannon fodder. Useless.
I think of the fact you got to be bad if Dietor can KO you in about 3 seconds. That's an all-time low, I think, when Dietor can. I mean, Dietor. I'm saying we went on before about saying Dietor's a good robot. It's a good robot, but it's not a robot that KOs robots really quickly.
No, God.
It's not.
Dietor's always been known to be slow and steady, you know, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, they just.
This is sort of character for them.
It's just a beautiful little flip though on Dome. It's just a flick, and the room just slowly tumbles over, and the weapon just spills out of it. And then
good way to show Dietor's new weapon setup actually working properly though and everything.
Yeah, it meant it actually was more reliable. I mean, it was way more impressive to defeat Tornado, obviously, but it's nice to show like having any kind of dominating presence in a series. So it was good, but Dome, no, just no. And also, apparently there are advantages previous Warzone experience for even though they're a first-time competitor.
Who do you think would win a battle, Dome or Immortalis?
Dome. only because it's a team death robot, and Dome at least looks kind of sturdy but rubbish.
You know who would win?
And also, Dome's really...
Nobody would win. The audience would win because it's the best fight of all time.
I'd say that's a big loss on the audience's part. Also from its official image, Dome looks really rusty as well. Like it wasn't even made out of like good metal, or the metal just rusted between waiting for stuff or qualifying, because it just doesn't look well constructed either.
Maybe that's the experience. The experience was on a literal war zone.
Yeah, its experience was its qualifying battle.
Its experience was it was out on the trenches getting all rusty.
It was being used as an observatory by day. Which is ironic because they don't use them by day, because that's how useless Dome was.
Oh.
But I guess that's all the episodes. That's all the robots for Heat G. I don't know who's joining me next time. It might end up being just random people. Sometimes I stick to the list, and sometimes people aren't available, so things randomly happen. So that's probably why Sean's ended up in 2 episodes in a row.
If it ends up being free, I'll make sure to be not tired next time.
It's fine. You made up for it for yesterday. It's fine. You can go. You can go and rest now. It's fine. Oh, 21.
I haven't slept in 50 years.
I need a good rest. I just drove back from Livingston today after 4 days on the go at a convention where I was already run ragged anyway, so...
Oh, man.
I can sit down and watch a movie for the rest of the night.
Yay! Oh, well, at least we're all tired then. I guess that's... I'm Jimjamatic, signing off.
I'm DOMINUsignis. Oh, sorry. You go first. I interrupted you.
I'm FreyFox.
And I'm DOMINUsignis.
Yay! Bye, everybody.